So third, let's look at discrete goods. And in particular, we're going to look at the demand curve for discrete goods. So these are, one of these goods can only be bought in these discrete amounts. So let's consider good 1 discrete. And let's say, put an arrow there, good 2, in this case, is going to be money that we spend on other goods. So good 1 is we can buy in discrete amounts, it's like cars or something, and good 2 is all the money we're spending on all the other kind of goods that we're going to buy. So let's think about, we kind of talked about the demand a bit for this kind of goods, but let's think a little bit further in terms of trying to draw their demand curves. So if P1 is high enough, so the price of this discrete good is high enough, then the individual will not buy any of it. But as we start lowering the price, there's going to be some price that you're kind of just indifferent towards buying that first unit of this discrete good or not buying it at all. There is some price, so there's some P1, and I'm going to say, well, let's say we're going to call it R1. That the individual is just indifferent to buying 1 unit of good 1 or none. We're going to call this R1, we're going to call a reservation price. And you'd see this idea of like a reservation price or a reservation wage a lot in labor economics, for instance. This price that you're willing to, difference between, especially with R1 here, between consuming none and starting to buy some of this good 1, or not supplying any of your labor to the labor market and then supplying one of your labor would be like the reservation wage, that wage that makes you kind of want to go into the labor market would be like the reservation wage. So there's lots of applications to labor economics here. Now, we could do the same thing for the there must exist some price as we keep lowering the price of good 1, where the individual is indifferent towards consuming 1 of this good 1 or 2 of it, and we could call that R2. So essentially we have these series of reservation wages. So demand can be described as a series of reservation wages. Sorry, reservation prices. Now I'm stuck thinking about labor economics. Demand can be described as a series of reservation prices. So R1, R2, R3, etc. Okay, so let's erase this and let's think more about these reservation prices and then draw our demand curve. So we just kind of introduced this idea of reservation price, right? So R1 was, the price at which this consumer was just indifferent between purchasing 0 amounts of this discrete good and 1. And so we can solve for these reservation prices. So that would be the point where U of 0, so purchasing 0 of good 1 and spending all your money on on other goods, which is good too, is going to have the same utility. I'm just going to change the pen color here, as you, utility for purchasing one of these discrete goods and spending the rest of your money, so your income minus that reservation price, on all other goods. So we can solve this for R1. Now, with the same idea, we'd have the utility of having one, and then we'd have the utility from buying two of these goods, and m minus 2 times R2. And we could solve this for R2. And so on and so forth. And, usually when you look at discrete goods, there's not that many that we're purchasing, which is why we're kind of treating it like discrete. But we could use these to draw out the demand curve for these discrete goods, for P1 and quantity demanded of good one. If the price was really high, they'd purchase none of these goods. And then as soon as we got that price equal to R1, the person's indifferent between having 0 of good one and 1 unit. And then we're going to go down to R2. And at this point, this reservation price, R2, this price R2, we're going to be different between having 1 unit and 2 units. And so on and so forth. So there'd be like an R3, etc., etc. My scale is pretty bad here, sorry. And let's say that's the last one. All right, so this is what the demand curve looks like. So it's this kind of series of lines for a discrete good. And it's kind of characterized by these reservation prices.